So if we look at this board, sheep is pretty weak. Wheat is strong enough. Wood is fine. Brick is kind of weak, but also it's accessible but weak. Ore is pretty garbage, so I can understand this A310, 5910 pick. If I'm being honest, I feel like I would have probably rather gone 5910 over A310, but that's just me, because this sheep is way more valuable on this board than sheep usually is. Let's see. This 643 is kind of wild. I don't really understand that from red. Like, you have so many other options, like the 369. And I get that they're trying to get to this ore spot, but like, I guess there's wheat on the end, so I guess I can understand it. It's interesting. Let's see. So if I'm Hoffy here, having the 643 be gone actually hurts you a lot, Hoffy. So maybe it was the right move to go 643, because if the 643 was here, Hoffy, I would say like 693, 643, and then you can immediately free road onto the 8-4. But then again, someone might take the 8-4, so I think that's the risky part of this 643 as well, is that someone could very easily take this 8-4. It's like, it's a good spot with two rare resources that are produced very strongly. So what sticks out to me? 369, 8-4 sticks out. I could see 369, 8-4 sticking out pretty well, because this 3-1 port is pretty uncontested. You have 5 resources. That's pretty big. The sheep port is not really useful here. Yeah, the problem with this board is that brick is really bad. The wood port is not super useful. Like, I guess the 510, 693 might work, because you immediately have a place to port your wood. But the problem with the 510 is that your expansions are just not very good. Unfortunately, you're just not in a good position to play defensively here, Hoffy. That's my main concern, is that, like, if you look at this, like, let's say you go 8-4-10, 6-5-11, and go for the 2 highest producing spots. That gives you a little bit of brick and a free road. Yellow probably, or red, because they're assuming they're going to settle on the 8-4, red probably goes 6-3-9, which is just crazy. That's just, like, way better than your setup. If I'm being honest, it's just way better than your setup. Then green probably goes 4-9-11, because it gives them 5 resources and lets them double up on wheat. And then yellow probably goes like 8-10, which is just awful for you. Either 8-3 or 8-10, whichever one corresponds. Like if you go 8-4, 6-9-3, for example. If you go 8-4, 6-9-3, then essentially the same thing happens, where red then has to panic, and they probably go like 8-4-10. And then green probably takes 4-9-11 still. And so at the end of the day, yellow is left with the same choices. Green ends up placing in the same place that they always would have. And yellow now, I guess, has the open option of the 6-5-11, but like 6-5-11, 6-9-3 is like, it's fine production, but you're gonna get stuck with a bunch of wood in your hand. You have no, like, your port situation is okay, I guess, if you can get to the 11-12 and the 6, but those expansion spots aren't very good. Like, the 6-11-12 is fine, but at the end of the day, I think the 8-4 or the 5-10 gives you more value than the 6-5-11 does when paired with the 6-9-3. When paired with the 6-9-3, I think the 5-10 or the 8-4 both give more value than the 6-5-11. And at the end of the day, you're not preventing anybody, Hoffy, to your point earlier, you're not preventing anybody from getting good spots by going on the 6-5-11 here. Like, you'd be crazy to go like 6-9-3, 8-4-10. 6-9-3, 8-4-10 would be wild. You're basically throwing your own game in the trash to be defensive. You need to focus on what is going to win you your game. I feel like in this spot you don't have much control over where the rest of the board places. And so given that you don't have very much control over where the rest of the board places, you have to just be self-centered and focus on what gives you the best setup for you. And I think in that spot, I kind of feel like the 8-4-6-9-3 is the best for you because it gives you all 5 resources, and at the end of the day, it makes Red's life way harder. It makes Red's life much, much more difficult, and it gets you to a 3-1 port, and it's more production. So, I think that's what. Yeah, I think that's where I would do. Where did you go, Hoppy? What did you pick? What was your final decision? Based on what I'm seeing, as I suspected, that, like, so you took 6-5-11, 8-4-3, which is fine. Or which, you know, we've already talked about. The red takes 6-9-3, which is what I guessed. If they pick the 4-9-11, then what does yellow do? Like, yellow could take the 6-5-11, or the 6-5-11 is not available for them. So they basically have, I mean, where did they even, and so like yellow got bailed out. It was able to hit the 4-9-11. Exactly, yeah, green takes the 4-9-11, and that means that yellow, if they want wheat, if yellow wants wheat, they have to take the 8-10, basically. I think that's kind of the conclusion I had to come to here. Is that, like, yeah, yellow has to take the 8-10. Because, like, where else do they go? Where else do they go to get wheat? I don't think there's anywhere. And it hurts for them, but, like, I think you got very lucky because green made a wacko decision to take the 6-11-12. Ugh. So here's my thing. On top of that, all green needed to do to cut you off of road was just take this road that they had already placed and just boop, cut you off. And they decided not to do that. I don't know how quickly you got these roads down, so I can't speak to exactly how plowable you were during any of this. But, like, if green thought that you were a road threat, it would have been very easy for them to just be like, nope, and cut you off from longest road. And then I guess somehow yellow takes it. So, like, I think the road threat that you're referring to is a bit overrated. Like, you got it, you got there, and I respect it, but I wouldn't be in this setup thinking, oh, I can get road here. Or at least not this easily, where you just, like, cut straight through everything. And the other problem is that this 9-12 is good, and, like, you got there, which is great, but also if you want to ever city up on the ore, you have to city up on a 9-12, which feels a little bad. Maybe that's a bit of a small critique, but, like, I mean, that's the thing. That's the thing with this game, Hoffy, is, like, in this scenario, my initial placements would have been awful. My initial placements would have been terrible because they went 6-11-12. Because green went 6-11-12, and that just completely ruins the 8-4. That absolutely ruins the 8-4 because you're in a losing race, probably. Or, well, maybe not. It's hard to say, but... Okay, so Kelly, it sounds like you were thinking pretty similar to Hoffy here. Oh, I think Kelly already said their 2 placements, which was very close to Hoffy's. Except for Hoffy went 8-4-3, which I think was a slight mistake. Like, if you were going to go 6-5-11, 8-4, and one of these spots, I think I agree with Kelly that the 8-4-10 makes more sense. That way you get the guaranteed 3-1 port. Okay, so you think that the 5-6-11 with the 8-3-10 is pretty good. I know you like to play without... Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that, Kelly. So Hoffy, if you go 6-5-11, 8-4-10, or 8-4-3, as you suggested, then the only alternatives that are available for yellow at the end of the day, because the 6-9-3 gets taken for sure, the 4-9-11 gets taken for sure, I mean, I guess I can't say for sure because in the actual game, green decided to go 6-11-12 instead, and so like that happened. But if people are playing, I think the way that they're supposed to, if you go 8-4-3, 6-5-11, yellow basically has to decide between the only tri-hex spot that's open is like the 6-11-12 and the 8-10. Sorry, the only tri-hex spot that's open is the 6-11-12, and from there, yellow basically has to pick from coastal spots. And because the 4-9-11 is done, 6-3-9 is done, 8-4-3 is done, and 6-5-11 is done. So, like, given your rationale for the 6-5-11, 8-4-3, the best options for yellow are, like, the 6-11-12 or the 8-10. Like, I certainly don't see yellow taking the 6-11-12 over the 8-10 here. I think the 8-10 is just a bit better than the 6-11-12 if you were to choose the spots that you did. So and that's just my opinion, Hoppy, I guess. Sure, expansion to the 11-4. I mean, sure, but why not just take the 8-10, which has the 3-1 already? Like, I think that's fair, Hoffy, but like, from my perspective, you'll get a 3-for-1 automatically by placing on the 8-10. And yes, the number diversity is not great, but like, your port situation is so good in that scenario, and it's still, you'd have to really work hard to get trades with Hoffy in that spot. Yes, I hear you. I mean, he just expands to the ports. Like, he expands to the 8 ore, to the 10 ore, maybe the 5-10, honestly, if it comes down to it. But like, well, but the thing is, I'm not super convinced that this 11-4, is some like great expansion spot though. Like, it's fine, it's good. But is it any better than like doubling up on the 8 ore and getting the wheat port? Is it any better than, I mean, hell, you could even try for the 5-10 if you want. Like, I don't know, man. I'm not sure I agree in how strong the 11-4 expansion spot is. Again, I'm just talking. I'm open to being convinced, but when I look at this 11-4, I don't look at this as like, wow, this just super opens up my game. Like, it's like when compared to the 8-4 here. And also, Kelly, you talked about this before in terms of understanding the player's play styles. Unfortunately for these, this is like solo queuing in Catan Universe, so you need a boilerplate methodology. And for me, I feel like my picks suit a boilerplate methodology pretty well. But yeah, Hoffy, I think my verdict is, I think 6-5-11, 8-4-3 is fine. I just got your message. Thanks, Kelly. 6-5-11, 8-4-3 is fine. I think you opened yourself up a little bit to the risk of yellow taking the 8-10. If green takes if red takes the 6-9-3 and green takes the 4-9-11, then I think you're potentially in a bit of trouble there. But fortunately, the 6-11-12 got taken, so that was good. I could see both the 8-4-10, 6-5-11 argument that Kelly talked about. I think the 8-4-10 is just way stronger than the 8-4-3 here. I could see that. Or I could see, like, the 6-9-3, like, 5-10. Or even maybe the 8-4-3, or 8-4-10, 5-10. But I think there were many good options for you. Yeah, I feel like this is how you get better at the game, is by just sitting here and doing the not fun part of like piecing out how things work and like how different placings affect things. But I agree, Kelly. There should be a place where you can recreate boards. There should be. That would be super awesome. Maybe we can get colonists to do that. Do like a training ground or something. Oh, you wish you did before placements. I see now. Okay. Yeah, don't worry. I have had my fair share of like making a placement being like, oh, that was so stupid. Why did I ever do that? Placements are hard. Placements are really tough, I feel. And so I don't Yeah, I think they grant a lot of discussion, and I think there's a lot of valid arguments from either side. Yeah, I hope that this was at least somewhat helpful, Hoffy. I hope this discussion was somewhat helpful here. I hope you at least got something out of it. I certainly got something out of looking at this. Yeah, sure thing, Hoffy. I hope I didn't come across as too critical here. When I put on my analytical hat, I tend to focus more on the negatives than the positives, so that's sorry about that, but I think you made a really compelling choice. I think you made a compelling choice that maybe could have been slightly better with the 8-4-10 instead of the 6-5-11, but I think there were also other options depending on what playstyle you wanted to do. I think there were options everywhere. So anyway,